I thought social media was going to give us a chance to immortalize ourselves. The irony is, it feels like you got to be somebody different on every single social media platform.
Social media is geared towards the youngest part of youth. No one wants to progress. Everyone is trying to chase youth.
The people that I saw early, I liked them because they didn't conform to that.
There's a lot of social media couples out there that turns out they're divorced, so they're just doing it for the gram.
We're seeing violence on social media. Yeah. It is affecting us in terms of how we become desensitized. Let's talk about social media. How do you navigating who you are as a person and understand the culture that we're in today as far as social media? How do you see that impacting how people are able to move or maybe not move based off of how social media works these days?
Okay, so first, and you're probably gonna hate what I'm about to say right here.
Okay.
But I actually had a counter question though in regards to what is our responsibility as podcasters too, recognizing that there may be young people who are watching the pods that don't have any life experience. Like, don't we have some responsibility as well, or does that responsibility just fall back on their parents?
So yeah, first of all, sorry, I did hate that.
I knew you.
And you know why I hated it, right? Because I don't understand why. So I'm gonna remove.
I can do it too for it.
Yeah, please, Jay. Please, sorry.
Okay, no,
I knew you were.
So, in answer to your impromptu question, S&M,
you're the one that kind of derailed.
Yeah, the one that just took us all off
the entire show.
It goes back to the consumer. It goes back to the consumer because anybody who wants to make money or has something to say can say something. So this consumer has to weed it out. You can tell people what their responsibility is to the public as much as you want to, but people's responsibility is primarily to themselves, to their family, and to whoever they're trying to make income and make means for. And they're gonna let everybody else go off the bridge before they let those people go off. So until that gets worked out, I don't think we can have the responsibility conversation from a podcaster perspective. Now, in answer to your question, Nick, about social media, it's funny because I thought social media was going to give us a chance to immortalize ourselves. I thought it was going to give us a chance to really be able to speak for ourselves, to tell the world who we are in our own terms, with our own images and our own voice. That's what I thought it was for. Like when you had MySpace, right? I heard about it. I ain't see it.
You was on MySpace. Stop playing. Yeah, Tom was your friend too, my brother. Stop playing. Tom was all of our friends.
On MySpace, he did. Thanks, Tom.
You just right there, the little picture.
I'm AOL old, so don't mess with me. So MySpace, we're trying to find that voice, right? The irony here is, and I definitely want to hear what you guys think about this. The irony is, it feels like you got to be somebody different on every single social media platform. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like LinkedIn, I can't talk on LinkedIn like I talk on Facebook. Mm-hmm. I'll get fired. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I can't wild out on Twitter. No, I can't wild out, on TikTok Snapchat. Like I do on X.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or Snapchat, right? You know? And so it's funny how we have all these ways, these new ways to express ourselves, but I don't think we're still being genuine. And now it's more work trying to put forward all these fake masks so we can interact with the public in all these different ways, whether it's business or entertainment or whatever. And I feel like we're more tired and we're less expressive and we're less authentic. And that's what I feel about social media.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. And I agree with you 100%. I don't think I've heard it articulated like that. I think the reason I think it's happening like that is because it is social media is geared towards the youngest part of youth, right? And so what we're doing, because I remember being on Facebook and that felt comfortable, right? And then, and X at the time, which was Twitter, actually, MySpace and Black Planet.
All right.
Black Planet was there.
Never been on
but
MySpace.
And again, that felt comfortable. But then Instagram was something very different because in our generation, we had more than just a picture. Like I have something to say. We don't care about that. I just want a really pretty picture, a perfect picture. So I think then a generation has to restructure themselves to fit that medium, right? That platform. TikTok, totally different. I don't want a pretty picture. I want dances. So then I see people that are from the 19s, right? Making up dance routines. And it's like, this is not comfortable. But you have to fit into that thing. And I think my problem with it is I think society is moving to where we've always celebrated youth and beauty, right? But now we're doing it at an exaggerated place to where there's no room for anything. And I'm not talking about youth as far as being in their 20s. I'm talking about this is what 13-year-olds do. That now 50 and 60-year-olds, my daughter showed me, there was a Korean TikTok grandma. And she was like, Mom, I think you can do this. And I was like, I don't think I can. But I think because we don't even respect age, when I grew up, Claire Huxtable was the
She was still
epitome.
kind of young though.
She was.
She was still kind of youngish.
But she was,
still get it.
but no, she was in her 30s, right? That's what the idea of her in her 30s.
yeah.
But
Younger
no,
part, yeah.
but now that you don't have any women that are that age as this ideal. The ideal, we're chasing Snapchat, which was for really young people that so they could erase, so they could send stuff and erase it. Like that's so when you have people, no one it wants to progress. Everyone is trying to chase youth. And that's what we see on social media. And I think that's why it's so
good point.
it's so dangerous because it's like there's nothing that so instead of saying, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to change who I am and make it fit this mold. And there's no end to that. It keeps going.
But see, the problem with that is the people that I saw early, I liked them because they didn't conform to that. And believe it or not, it was the Cardi B early. She would, the chip tooth, the whatever. I like that, the rawness, the realness of that. Just Hilarious, the same thing. But then you got up, you see later they change these things to conform. That's not why I liked you. I like that version of you. So a lot of times I think we have to change because we're competing with the other stuff that we see. And then that's not necessarily what draws, you think it is.
No, because the likes show you. So that whole conversation that women have all the time about, why do men always, the platforms of the women that are half naked and twerking, which you mentioned earlier, are always the most popular. And then men will say, but we don't really like that.
I don't.
Well, sir,
I
a million people are following that person. So obviously the majority of men do like it. In fact, some of the guys that say they don't like it, I've seen them like it. And I will screenshot it and send it to them later.
I don't like it.
Like it for what?
You don't like
Hold
it?
on. I feel like because I understand how algorithms work.
Right.
I purposefully stopped following women who were just there to show me ass because I understood that. But Instagram still shows me that when I scroll. And I get your point, right? That it's kind of like, hey, other guys who look like you like this, so they're forcing it down my throat. Pause. And I'm like, nah, I'm good on that.
Right.
But I want to broaden out a little bit because I get what you guys are saying in terms of the impact. But I mean, in terms of the community, though. Right, because there's certain behavior that's being perpetrated on social media that people are following. We talked about podcasts, right? How the music gets popping nowadays on TikTok or other genres.
Absolutely.
So we're hearing it get popping off of social media, and now, it's the song that we're twerking toward. Dworking is a new word I heard on social media, right? Dworking. Yeah, it's the guy's version of twerking. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, I heard about it.
It's news to me.
That's a real thing. I
Is
haven't.
that something that is
haven't practiced
heterosexual
yet.
male approved?
Do you think
We haven't had a meeting.
Never mind. That's not the conversation. But that's not the conversation. We're not going to land here.
We haven't had a meeting, but I don't think
This is a real time. This is a real time example of how disruptive social media can be because I heard about twerking on socials and now we're talking about it, right?
There it is.
But to that point, though, a lot of people are seeing behavior on social media. We're seeing violence on social media. It is affecting us in terms of how we become desensitized to things via social media. In fact, on X, you can watch porn on social media. Back in the day, growing up, you had to go to the gas station and maybe get,
No, they just canceled it in Georgia.
Yeah, but once Elon decided to let the reins loose, anything goes low key on X, which is why a lot of advertisers initially were coming off that, right? But to the point is, we know it's exploitive because these companies are making billions of dollars on us. But what's messed up is it's exploiting our carnal nature.
It is.
To a certain extent, right? So can we talk more about that? Because I feel like overall we wanted to kind of focus on the things that affect our community. And we're talking about some of the things that causes some of these things. But what's the impact on us?
Can you have a guilty pleasure?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Is
that reality TV was
The reason why I say this, I noticed I started to like something that I didn't think I like, and this is bad.
Was
so
it
don't
working?
judge me. I'm just, no,
Not dorky.
man. No, what it was.
He genuinely seemed like the first time
I started to get into this thing where they would catch people stealing in department stores at Walmart or wherever these places are.
Right.
And they get caught and they pull up to them with the badge and the camera showing, and they're trying to get out of it. I just find it entertaining.
So listen, that's
People
fine.
get caught stealing.
But you're not going to start stealing though, right? And I think we got to.
But see,
because
that's
you're
entertained
but
by
that's
it.
my point. I grew up in a certain era. I saw something on TV, whether it be Superman flying. I didn't want to fly. I turned the TV off. Everything was off. I go about my life.
Yeah, but I'm saying like you're mature enough to
Thank
where
you.
watching this type of content is not going to affect you.
But the
Yeah.
younger,
Well, not
that's
only
a-
that, the TV, you turn the TV off. You just said that your phone is never off.
That's
People are
fine.
never off their phone. The phone is an extension of your hand at this point.
appendage, for
So
sure.
you're right. So at this point, people are not, even people of us, of the 19s are walking around with their phones connected. That just really hurts.
I got my phone on me right now. But go-
But I mean, It just really got to me. But I mean, that doesn't stop. So it's different than when we would watch the A-Team and the Cosby Show and Family Style, and then we turn the TV off and we go outside and play. There is no such thing because you're constantly on your phone. You're constantly getting images. So I think we're in a place where those of us that know, because the people that created these platforms do not allow their family or their children to watch them, to utilize them, right? So that means that those of us that know better, even that we have to say, hey, maybe that should even be like a warning before your podcast. Like, that this is, social media is not something that you should be doing in a certain, if you're not prepared, if you're not mature enough or whatever, that there needs to be something because it has to, because you got to realize people are seeing death.
Well,
no, they're not going to.
Not necessarily the disclaimer, but the whole is coming because they already started studies and whatnot pertaining to social media impact on the various age groups, starting with the youngest group and how these kids lack impulse control now, and how these kids also lack the ability to process certain emotions because they're so used to social media where they're having hissy fits and so forth and temper tantrums if their tablets are being taken away, how they're getting violent from that. And then even within our community, this need to fake the font, so to speak, where we're portraying ourselves one way, but in reality, that's not what's happening. There's a lot of social media couples out there that turns out they're divorced or they're just doing it for the gram because it was giving them the money that they needed. And so there's a lot of foolery going on that's fake as hell, but folks are taking it for life and for truth. And that's actually affecting our relationships as well. Because now I'm looking at the Joneses over there, and yes, my last name is Jones, but they may not be looking at me, but they're looking over the Joneses over there, and the Joneses look like they got XYZ. She's talking about she got flown out here or flown out there. And so now the next person is looking at getting flown out because that's now the expectation because it was told on social media that there are so many women getting flown out. Or even with the whole Cheesecake Factory, how the list of places that we shouldn't go as a date, right?
Cheesecake was great though. It was good money.
And but that influence. And so they're starting to show studies that show how it's actually influenced to include the fact that some marriages are dissolving behind social media, but it's not social media because of the posting, but because of the DMs. Like who's in your DMs, right? And so that's part of it. Exactly.
I think one of the things we want to look at is social media is one of those weird products that gets consumed by multiple people for different purposes. So when our generation watch social media, yes, we're looking for entertainment, but we're also looking for like life hacks, things we didn't know, things we can learn, how we can improve, shortcuts, right? Younger generations look at social media, it's straight dopamine. It is straight for the excitement and engagement. Right. So it goes from dopamine of viewing the screen to the dopamine of wanting to be on the screen, of wanting to be seen. And that becomes the only driver. Right. So they'll do the crazy crate challenge and set themselves on fire with rubbing alcohol and do all sorts of stuff because they want to be seen so bad that it doesn't matter.
Unfortunately, people in our generation are doing it too.
Same thing, yeah.
Because I think, like I talked about, it's like going back trying to chase that because I want to be popular. So you have people that are born in the, way beyond our generation doing things, chasing that you would say that the younger generation is doing because it's a need for validation. And because in our day, people that were like, Alice Walker or different women were considered, that was amazing. Now it's like, no, the only women that are amazing are a woman who is 60 but looks like she's 20. So let's try to do that. And let's try to, and that is what people are chasing. So unfortunately, a lot of people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are not looking for life hacks. Right. They're looking for likes. They're looking for attention and validation.
Well, that too, but we got to be fair because social media offers people money too, right? If you get enough views, then you can make money. There are kids growing up, they want to be YouTubers. We got streamers now, like Costa and I and all these young boys who are out there making some big money. And so the young people are literally, that's a career path now where it was never for us. Even the idea of being an artist or a rapper or whatever was not a legitimate thing that people would consider. But nowadays, these kids and some of their parents are like, oh, you can be an e-gamer, for example. You can be a streamer and make money. You can be a podcaster and make money. You can be an influencer and make money. And I think, I'm not mad at that. Because, I mean, if you can make a good living from the crib doing content that you love, But I think the problem is that it's not realistic for everyone.
That's
Just like the idea of being, LeBron James or being, Nas or growing up Jay-Z's, right? So you have a bunch of people who are making decisions and behaving in a certain way. The thing that gets me is these kids who do some of the dumbest illegal stuff on camera because they think by snitching on themselves or carrying a gun or talking about a crime they committed was one way to get clout. So I want to end the conversation to talk about clout. Because I feel like out of social media, that's probably one of the byproducts. To your point about whether it's old people or young people, this need for validation, right? Or try to make money. What do you guys think about the impact of what we now have as clout culture, right? In part because social media makes it easy for us to just log on and potentially get clout. Let's just talk about that before we get up out of here. Some final thoughts about that?
Like to beef with someone, right? There's people that'll start beef that have a new channel to say something about something. They know it's going to trigger this other person, right? And it's for that attention thing. And now your likes become my likes. I've seen the Jim Jones situation. He didn't really need to do it, but to get in the algorithm, he'll say something about Nas and his skill level and all that. And he knew that.
Yeah, he talked about playing the game. He talked about playing the game.
Right, right. So are we mad that they learned, they figured it out? You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, there's people that go in the grocery stores and lick the top thing of the ice cream and put it back. I think when you have acts like that or running up on strangers doing pranks that could cost you your life, depending on who you run up on. So we need to show more of the consequences of those things opposed to just the rewards of the other.
Absolutely.
I don't know
to
if that's
balance it out.
I don't know if there is a way.
To.
I don't know if there's a way to balance it because I was watching this I saw this lady do a video and this white guy gets down and proposes to this black lady and she's probably, in her 40, 50s and she like curses him out, goes off. And I'm like, what is going on? Come to find out, she's a person that just does more. She tries to do things that are crazy because the bar is so high. You got to keep doing crazier and crazier stuff. And she said that she went viral one time and now she's chasing that every time. And so what has happened is because we are all desensitized, it's like, oh, we saw somebody run up and hit somebody upside the head. That's not a big deal. Now somebody run somebody over with a car. That's not a big deal. So it has to keep going higher and higher. And unfortunately, everybody, I keep going back to this word, every human has a need to be validated, And so because there are so many people that have not been able to get it, they're turning to social media. I think that need for validation on social media is higher even than the money. Because when you look at how much, she was breaking down like how much she made when she got 1 million views and how much she makes for this. The reality is a lot of people are not making that much money on social media. They're there because they want to matter. You mentioned earlier that you thought social media was going to allow us to memorialize ourselves, to immortalize ourselves. And that's really what people are trying, not to immortalize themselves, but just to prove that they matter. I want to get, and once you get that taste, you're addicted and you want it again and you want it again. But in order to get it the next time, you have to do a little bit more and a little bit more. And at this point, we've seen people be killed on social media. We've seen people be abused, all type of things. And so I've seen, like, in our day, it would be crazy to see a parent curse at a child. There's a meme that's going around, and it's funny, where a parent is like, sit the F down. Like, that is not something that you would want to say to your child. But because we're so desensitized and we need to do whatever's going to get us to that next level of attention, we're in a dangerous place. But it all goes back to the basic human need for, I matter. I need to be validated.